Hi, I'm Stephen Horne, a professional member of the American Herbalist Guild, a registered herbalist, and today I'm going to talk to you about the nervous system, how to relax your way to better health. Because we live in a society where we got a lot of stress, let's face it, and one of the keys to being able to be healthy is to learn to uh, deal with that stress and have a relaxed nervous system. So let's start off by just talking a little bit about the basic anatomy and physiology of the nervous system. Uh, there are two parts to the nervous system. One is the central nervous system, or the CNS, which consists of the brain, the spinal column, the peripheral nerves that basically are what we call the motor nerves, the nerves that allow us to have conscious voluntary movement, and then our senses, our sensory nerves that allow us to get input from the world. Then we have another branch of the nervous system called the autonomic nervous system, or ANS, which regulates all of the automatic processes of our body, our heart rate, our breathing, our blood pressure, our digestion, uh, etc. And that aspect of our nervous system is divided into two parts: the sympathetic nervous system, which is the part that kind of winds us up or keeps us alert; the parasympathetic, which helps us relax. It could be argued that there is a third branch of the nervous system, the enteric nervous system, which is the gut brain, um, which I talked a little bit about in the digestive uh, episode of this series. However, that is kind of a little different discussion and not pertinent to what we are today, although the gut does play a huge role in our mood and so forth. Now, cells in the body need to communicate. And of course, nerve cells are communication cells. And cells communicate by means of chemical messengers. All cells communicate by means of chemical messengers, not just nerve cells. So cells release chemicals into the surrounding fluids, and those chemicals then go to nearby cells. The endocrine system communicates from the glands to the rest of the body by secreting things in the blood, but the nervous system uses neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are special chemical messengers that cross the gaps between nerve cells to basically stimulate the next nerve cell to fire. So we know that nerves work electrically. They basically discharge a small electric current down the length of the nerve cell. But when that current reaches the end of the nerve cell, it causes a release of these neurotransmitters into the gap between it and the next nerve cell called the synapse. And those neurotransmitters then go to the next cell and bind to receptor sites on that nerve cell, either stimulating that nerve cell to fire or inhibiting it from firing. There are a number of drugs, that are been developed in the last uh, several decades that are all targeted at neurotransmitters. In fact, a lot of drugs for many years have been targeted at neurotransmitters even before we knew what they are, because there's a lot of compounds in plants that affect neurotransmitters. There are several ways neurotransmitters can be affected. One of the most obvious ones is stimulating more neurotransmitters to be released. Another one is sensitizing the receptor sites on the other nerve cell to that neurotransmitter. Another one is inhibiting the enzymes that break down the neurotransmitter, or inhibiting the enzymes that synthesize the neurotransmitter. Or you can also inhibit reuptake. Reuptake is a means by which the cell that sent the chemical messenger basically reabsorbs the chemical messenger themselves, or pulls it back in so it can basically be recycled. There are also substances which mimic neurotransmitters. For example, opiates. There are receptors in the brain that have natural compounds called endorphins that help to relieve pain and give you a sense of euphoria. And the opiates in things like opium poppy, which include things like heroin, mimic those endorphins attached to those receptor sites and give people that high. So the same thing's true of cannabis or marijuana. There are receptor sites for neurotransmitters that are now called cannabinoids, named after the compounds in cannabis that they've discovered affect various functions of the brain. So there's a lot of ways that we can affect these neurotransmitters. And we're not going to have time here in this brief overview to talk about all the neurotransmitters, but let's just mention some of the major neurotransmitters and a little bit of what they do. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter used by neurons in the brain that are involved in processes like forming memories. It's also the principal neurotransmitter of the parasympathetic nervous system, and it's also the neurotransmitter used in our peripheral nerves to regulate our muscles. Acetylcholine is what causes muscles to contract. So the nerve cells that control our muscles release acetylcholine, and the acetylcholine is picked up by the muscle cell, and that causes the muscle cell to contract. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are alertness neurotransmitters. They're also hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline, that are released by the adrenal glands into the bloodstream. Epinephrine is the emergency upregulator that helps you stay alert, wakes you up. It's what fires off when you get scared by something. And norepinephrine is the normal neurotransmitter that helps keep you alert and awake and allow you to pay attention to things. Most of you have probably heard of serotonin because of its involvement in depression, although serotonin is not the only neurotransmitter involved in what we call depression. But serotonin neurons basically are in the brainstem and go downward into the body, and then they project upward into the brain. Serotonin is an alertness neurotransmitter that basically wakes up the brain and pushes us to do things to get what we need. The serotonin, if it's overregulated, actually makes people quite aggressive. Underregulated, they get depressed. Interestingly enough, serotonin neurons are active during the day, they slow down at night, and they shut off completely while you dream. Dopamine is another real important neurotransmitter believed to be involved in things like mania and schizophrenia and also addictions. Dopamine is a reward motivator. It fires off telling us, hey, there's something good, go get it. Such as when we see a potential sexual partner or food, and so forth. So almost anything that can be addictive basically is stimulating a release of dopamine, which basically drives or motivates the behavior to go after that thing. GABA is an amino acid that is actually the principal inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain that helps to calm anxiety, calm down your thoughts, calm down your mind, and is deficient a lot in anxiety and epilepsy and seizures. So we're going to talk a little bit about, just general things we can do to maintain the health of our brain and help keep our neurotransmitters properly balanced. And the first one we're going to talk about is breathing. Deep breathing stimulates brain activity, helps to clear your head. If you ever notice, if you are just feeling kind of stressed or anxious or whatever, if you start to just slow your breathing down, breathe very slowly and deeply, it helps to balance out your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, reduce your stress and calm anxiety. So that's one of the easiest things you can do for your nervous system, is whenever you catch yourself feeling stressed, to stop and take some deep breaths. Professor in college taught me to do this little exercise, which I've used at various times in my life when I'm feeling stressed. You breathe in deeply thinking, I am, and exhale deeply thinking, relaxed. I am relaxed. Water is really critical for your brain and your nervous system. Your brain is 70 to 85% water, and a mere 2% drop in water levels can trigger fuzzy short-term memory, trouble with basic math, difficulty focusing on a computer, difficulty focusing on the printed page, and also, by observation, dehydration also tends to make your sleep less deep and more disturbed, and in general makes you more tense and anxious. And so just water alone can have a very calming effect on your nervous system. You need sleep. Sleep basically allows your nervous system to kind of slow down, switch gears. It allows your body to rejuvenate and repair itself. And lack of sleep can cause irritability, depression, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, and remembering things. So research suggests that we need about 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Many people nowadays aren't even getting 6 or 7, so they're winding up with a chronic sleep debt, and that sleep debt starts catching up with you and giving you problems. And nothing can compensate for a lack of sleep except getting some rest. Complex carbohydrates are important, and I'm referring to complex carbohydrates. I'm talking about eating complex carbohydrates instead of eating refined carbohydrates. And the reason is the brain takes sugar directly from the blood. It uses more sugar than any other organ. And when you get too much sugar in the blood, the brain is overstimulated. It kind of gets hyper and wired, and it actually tends to burn out your neurotransmitters. And also you get a dopamine response, which makes refined sugar very addictive. When you get too much sugar in your blood, your body then secretes insulin to try to drive the sugar down, and then you wind up with your blood sugar going low, which causes confusion, moodiness, irritability, fatigue, and so forth. So if you use complex carbohydrates instead of refined carbohydrates, it makes a huge difference on the nervous system. First of all, because it releases sugars into the bloodstream more gradually, keeping your sugar level more stable, which keeps your mental activity and mood more stable. But it also contains a lot of important nutrients that are needed for your brain function, one of which is B complex vitamins. The brain is mostly fat if you take all the water out of it. So like I said, it's 85% water. Remove all the water from the brain, and what's left is 50% fat. So we are fatheads, and most of these fatty acids in our brain are omega-3 essential fatty acids. So particularly long-chain ones like DHA and EPA. So good fats are very critical to having a healthy brain. And most people are not getting enough omega-3s, so they're not getting enough brain food to keep their brain structure healthy. And in order to protect those fats, because the brain is so loaded with fats, to keep them from going rancid or oxidizing, they need protection in the form of antioxidant nutrients, particularly fat-soluble vitamins, which are antioxidants that protect the brain. Diets high in good fats, not talking about margarine and shortening and refined vegetable oils, but good fats, natural fats found in natural foods, have actually helped in things like ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, epilepsy, and other disorders of the brain. So good fats are very, very critical. Now, all of the neurotransmitters that we mentioned earlier are made from a base of amino acids. So serotonin comes from tryptophan, dopamine from L-tyrosine and D-L-phenylalanine. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are also created from that. GABA is created from L-glutamine, which creates both glutamic acid, the principal excitatory neurotransmitter, and GABA, the principal inhibitory neurotransmitter. So you can't have good brain function without amino acids. So you need to make sure that you're getting adequate amounts of protein to keep your brain stable. Protein foods help stabilize blood sugar levels, which also stabilize the brain. It's especially important to get some protein for breakfast. It really helps to keep your brain more stable during the day. If nothing else, a good protein smoothie with some center protein can really help. The B complex vitamins and vitamin C and a number of trace minerals are all necessary for synthesizing neurotransmitters from those amino acids. Again, in the diet high in refined carbohydrates and processed vegetable oils and so forth, we're not getting a lot of vitamins. And so we need these vitamins, and they're very critical for maintaining healthy nervous system and vitamin function. That's why a good B complex with vitamin C helps feed the nerves and can help people cope better with stress, and can then help a variety of mental, problems that are really just basically not getting the nutrients that you need. A couple of things to understand about just the general nervous system terrain. These are 4 different problems that I think you might want to look at and take into consideration when talking about the nerves. One is what I call sympathetic overload or sympathetic dominant, which is basically when you're feeling stressed. Your body's just wired up too much from too much excitement or too much stress. And when that happens, your pupils get large and you just feel stressed. Typically what you need there is just some rest, some relaxation, some calming nervines, maybe something adaptogenic to kind of bring the stress level down. If that continues for a long period of time, then your neurotransmitters that help keep you alert and awake and everything start getting depleted, and you start to feel burned out. You basically are still anxious and kind of stressed, but you're also tired. You don't sleep well. You have a hard time coping with life. That typically can be detected with pupils that are slightly pulsing, a tongue that quivers a lot when a person sticks out their tongue, and also just shakiness, just kind of like trembling hands and shaky muscles, as well as fatigue during the day with restless, disturbed sleep at night. So basically the person feels like they're being driven crazy because they're tired, but they really can't sleep very well. Parasympathetic dominant or parasympathetic excess is different than sympathetic excess, in that the person can again appear stressed, but when you give them just ordinary relaxing nervines, they feel more stressed. This is because their nervous system is out of balance in the opposite direction. There's too much parasympathetic activity and not enough sympathetic activity. This is where ADHD comes in, and it's why giving Ritalin and other uppers, which are stimulants of the sympathetic nervous system, actually helps calm the kids down. Now, I don't think that's the best way to handle it, but basically that is what the problem going on. And you tell that because the pupils are small. The sympathetic nervous system contracts the pupil, the sympathetic nervous system dilates or enlarges the pupil, the parasympathetic contracts the pupil. And when the sympathetic nervous system is losing juice, then the pupil pulses because the body's having a hard time making an adjustment or maintaining a balance between the two. And then of course there's the problem of mood, feeling down, feeling depressed, lethargic, not motivated, etc. So the key system product for this is NutriCalm. NutriCalm is basically a vitamin B complex with some vitamin C in it, and some other nutrients that basically help feed your nerves, help your nerves synthesize neurotransmitters, also helps your body generate energy in the mitochondria of the cells, so it actually can help you stay more calm, at the same time be alert and awake. It also contains some chamomile, which is a nice relaxing nervine to have a calming effect on your nerves. And so this is a great formula for just kind of feeding your nerves to help you be both energized and not overly relaxed. Not overly stressed. Okay, maybe I should have had a little more sleep tonight. Next thing is there's some specific products, some additional products that we can use for some special needs pertaining to the nervous system. One of them is Brain Protects with huperzine. Huperzine is an alkaloid from Chinese club moss, which has been shown to help the neurons in the brain that make acetylcholine. And Brain Protects is basically helping to work on the brain to help with the acetylcholine neurons that are involved in memory. So it helps protect your brain as you get older and protect the cells that allow you to keep learning and have a good memory. There's definitely some research suggesting that huperzine can be helpful for people, especially as we get older and we start to, not have the ability to think or remember as clearly. Two herbs that also help with that are ginkgo and gotu kola. Ginkgo has had research done in Europe showing that it helps improve circulation to the brain. It helps protect the brain from oxidative damage. It affects a number of different neurotransmitters, promoting a better memory and mental alertness as we get older. Gotu kola, we don't know the mechanism of, but it's long been used as a tonic for elderly, including to help keep brain function very well. And I've observed that both ginkgo and gotu kola, the two of them together, can be very helpful for people as they get older to help keep their brain sharp. Antioxidants are very important for the brain. So grapevine, high potency grapevine, is a good antioxidant for protecting the brain from damage. Magnesium is extremely critical in the brain and one of the nutrients that many people are deficient in. It is very important for the formation of new synapses to help develop memory and learning. It's important for helping to keep your brain calm, so you don't have like racing thoughts and anxiety. It's also very important to help keep our brain cells from dying, because excitatory neurotransmitters excite calcium in the neurons, which causes them to overfire and become restless. Magnesium helps to counteract that. Your omega-3 essential fatty acids in flaxseed oil or super omega-3 can be very, very helpful for the brain, getting those important fats that the brain needs to work properly. Siberian ginseng is an adaptogen. It basically reduces the output of stress hormones, helps to reduce the output of those sympathetic neurotransmitters, and helps to kind of calm and stabilize your body and your mood. The center protein, as we mentioned, protein is really, really critical for the formation of neurotransmitters. They need amino acids. So a good protein supplement, especially for people who aren't maybe eating enough good protein or have trouble digesting it, can be helpful. And of course, just the B complex, which are also found in Nutricalm, can be helpful for a lot of people who have nervous system problems. So as Dan Quayle said, an American politician who was famous for putting his foot in his mouth, he said, "What a waste it is to lose one's mind, or to not have a mind at all is being very wasteful." How true it is. So, while it's difficult not to have a mind at all, we definitely don't want to lose what little mind we have. We want to take good care of it. So we need to make sure that we're getting the sleep we need. We need to make sure we're drinking our water, we're relaxing and breathing deeply, and we're getting the nutrients that our brain needs to function properly, because what a waste if we don't have our mind. So hope that you've learned some valuable things today to help keep your mind sharp and alert and functioning properly, and that you'll use those things not only to help yourself but also to help others.